What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show. You know what it is. This is episode 44. That means tomorrow's episode 45, which is ridiculous. But hey, we just gonna keep it moving. So on today's episode, we got my guy Henry Amazing. Now, before I introduce him and bring him on, you already know on this show, we take imperfect action by talking about marketing principles, strategy, business principles, business strategies, and also lessons that you could take immediately and make some action in your business so you can get a result. So with that being said, I have to talk about my guy Henry Amazing, who I met in a mastermind that him and I both are part of, and we also recently attended another mastermind in person this past weekend that was very impactful and powerful. And Henry be getting in with the podcasting. So today's episode, we're gonna be talking about the power of podcasting, which is something that I always encourage people to do. It's one of the easiest ways for you to generate leverage and build relationships with people and also become an authority, right? So, Henry, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? I'm going to send a text message to our community, let them know that we are live and popping right now.
Man, first off, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for, just a chance to come on the platform and just share some value and impact your audience. What's up, y'all? I'm Henry. I go by Henry Amazing. I'm just a kid from Jackson, Mississippi with a dream, a goal, and a desire. And no matter what obstacle or opposition comes my way, I'm going to make it happen because that's the only option. It's either we make it happen or we make it happen, period. So I'm a by day, I do IT work, but outside of that, I'm a social media strategist as well as a podcaster. I am the host of the Amazing Podcast, where I interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and creatives, and I just highlight their journey to being amazing. Because to me, being amazing means, again, you got that goal, you got that dream, you got that desire, but you won't let any obstacle or opposition stop you from seeing it through.
100%, bro. And I think it's great that you're on here and you letting people know that you got the 9 to 5, but you're
Mhm.
also an entrepreneur on the backside of that, which is great also because some people feel like they can't be one without the other, or
Mhm.
they need to quit their job before they can be an entrepreneur. So why don't we talk about that real quick before we jump into
Man, I
marketing?
got a story for you. I'm gonna make the long story less long though. So I'm that typical, entrepreneur. As a kid, sold candy, et cetera, as I was coming up. After college, after undergrad, I read like Rich Dad Poor Dad, changed my whole perspective. Actually, no, while I was in college, I read that book, and that's when I started my first business. It was called Amazing Style. I sold menswear accessories, and what was interesting was while I started that business, I was making $7.25, which is minimum wage in Mississippi. So I was making $7.25 an hour, working at the movie theater, and I did everything. Swept the popcorn, sold the tickets, you name it, I did it. Literally, I remember running a sale, and I did like a $5 Friday on the accessories. And that day, it was a Friday, on the job. We was slam packed, busy. I was tired, wore out. I went to the back, checked my phone, and I just was like, "Hey, let me just check and see how the sale was doing." Literally, in that one day, within a couple hours, because I started at afternoon, I literally made more off that sale, like doing that sale for a couple hours, than I did working 2 weeks at the movie theater. From that moment on, I knew entrepreneurship was it for me. I knew it because I just knew that time. Well, I put it like this: time is like the most valuable asset we have. When we trade that time for dollars, we're not really leveraging, what we can really do. Unless you're actually getting paid your worth. And but see, honestly, when you think about it, even if you have offer where you're making 10K an hour, like honestly, time is still more valuable than that money because you can always go make more money, but you can't get that time back. But long story short, did that, and as I've gone through different day jobs, I've always had a thing I was doing outside of it. And honestly, if I'm being fully transparent, the real reason I love entrepreneurship and why even while working a day job, I will always have something else going, because I truly feel that one income is too close to none. And like me, I'm married now. I got a wife. I got a puppy. We gonna have kids soon. Not an A kid, but kids soon. And like I can't let another man dictate whether or not I could feed my family. No matter how good the salary is, right? I just something in me. I can't let no other man dictate whether or not I'm able to feed my family. And then, so that's why I always chose entrepreneurship. And I believe that you can do both. I don't believe in either or. I think what people really should do is think about what they truly want and what works best for them. Some people jumping off the porch and diving head first, that works. Me, or at least at this stage, having the stability helps me be more creative because I'm not stressing. So that's why I leverage it. And really, the goal is, or at least the way I operate is, I use the 9 to 5 as the side hustle because I'm all in on this entrepreneurship.
Bro, that's amazing, bro. I like how you broke that down, especially saying like it kind of depends on what what the individual wants. You know what I'm saying? Like if they see that, keeping the 9 to 5 but keeping the situation is cool and they can still build on top of that and they can leverage that. And I like how you spun that and was like, yo, my 9 to 5 is really my side hustle. You know what I'm saying? So that's a
For
great way to
real.
look at it. All right, man. So yo, let's get into some spice. Cause
Yes.
you already know I got 2 podcasts in the show. So I'm
Yes.
always telling people that they need to be leveraging these platforms. When I met you at first, I found out that you had a podcast. I was like, oh, this is dope. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to create a podcast? What type of power do podcasts really have? And why is now the one of the best times for a creator to create one?
Bet. So my podcast journey started in like 2017, toward the end, towards 2018. I remember at that time I was real heavy into Gary Vee, watching like all his videos. Cause it was the summer. So I heard him talk about, hey, you should have a podcast. So I started thinking, I was like, that could be cool. I could possibly do this. But what really made me go ahead and start a podcast was I was listening to Lewis Howes' School of Greatness podcast, and it was really good. It's really impactful. But the thing I noticed was all of the guests were either millionaires and billionaires. Yes, that's great. Yes, that motivates people. But again, I'm a kid from Mississippi. So seeing that, although it inspired me, it didn't really impact me as much because I didn't feel like it was attainable at that time in my life. So I was like, okay, Henry, and then plus I'm not a person that complain. I focus on solutions. So I was like, well, why don't you interview entrepreneurs and business owners and creatives who literally are like they're making their moves, and no matter where they are in their journey, you can highlight their story because there's somebody that's gonna be impacted by it. And I'm glad I made that choice for real, because I've literally had the opportunity to interview people that were just starting out, had the opportunity to interview people that have done 6 figures in their business, and even talked to some people that did 7. So it's insane what is possible. So that was the why I got started. I just wanted to create a platform where I could highlight other people's stories and impact the world, because I believe everybody is amazing and that we just need to unlock our greatness sometimes, because sometimes the environment we're in will either minimize us or it will have us thinking that we aren't as great as we were created to be, because we are great. So that's the why I started. Now, the power of podcasting is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like, honestly, if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner under the sound of my voice, I I will stand on this hill. You should have a podcast because one, podcasts allow you to connect with your audience in a way that social media doesn't, right? Because when people are on TikTok or they're on Instagram, they're getting them bite-sized quick hits of you. But on a podcast, you have the opportunity where people can engage with you, engage with your thoughts for a long period of time, whether that's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or even an hour or longer. And here's the thing, right? When somebody consumes that much of your content, because a podcast is content as well that you can leverage for marketing. I want to go ahead and get that out because some people may be like, well, what about content? What about the marketing? It's all the same. Podcast is a piece of content that you can use to help market, yourself, your business, your offer, etc. Right? But here's the deeper thing. When somebody consumes that much of you, you become top of mind. Imagine this. Imagine I'm a business owner and I sell software, right? Shout out to my guy, Daniel and Anthony. So they got software, right? And imagine if I made a podcast where I interview people that use the software and they've gotten success using the software. So now I literally have a platform where I'm promoting my product and service, and literally it's nothing but testimonials. So now when you, as the listener, you hear that, if you've been thinking about my software or the product, now you're more willing to, go all in on it because you see it works. That's the power of podcasting. It literally allows you to connect with the audience on a deeper level, as well as you are able to create your own platform, and you can, market your own products and services. And
And
then
then
now is the best time.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
seriously,
Why is now the best time?
bruh. Because, so the reason now is the best time is because there are no gatekeepers. There are no gatekeepers. Back in the day, like when our parents were coming up and grandparents, you had to go through like a major network if you wanted to reach the masses. Literally, only thing you need now is a device, whether it's a phone or a computer or a laptop, and some internet connectivity, whether it's Wi-Fi or your cell phone network, and literally you can create a podcast. And there are tools like Anchor that make it so easy, so easy. Like in Anchor, you can record, upload, like do everything from your phone too. Cause that's how I got started. I started in 2018 on an iPhone 6S. I used my Apple AirPods and mic, and that's how I got started. And I mean, over time, I upgraded my equipment, and even now, I'm upgrading it even more. But now is the best time. And again, we still early, y'all. I don't care how many celebs you see starting theirs. We are still early in the process. We are so early.
So what I wanna know from you is people probably still have a hiccup because they're like, oh, should I go virtual? Should I go in person? Should I do both? Like, if I'm going live, should I stop going live and do the podcast? Should I do the podcast instead of doing live? Why don't we talk a little bit about the different ways you can do a podcast, and if
Mm.
one is better than the other, or if it's really just about actually just getting the content out?
I'll say the most important thing is just getting started, period. Get started, period. Whether you decide to do audio only, whether you going live recording it, whether you're doing pre-record, like just get started first. So now that we established that you got started, now there are some different methods. Like me, I started out doing audio only. And I mean, it works. I was able to build an audience. However, now in 2022, you really want to have the video content because you're able to repackage and repurpose it across all, the distribution platforms, whether that's, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, literally every site you can repackage and repurpose your audio and video to. So I would
I mean,
say
we're streaming on Twitch and LinkedIn right now and YouTube.
exactly. And again, y'all, there are programs that let you do that. Like there are programs that let you do all of this where you on one program, but it will literally shoot the podcast to all the other different places live. So, and then honestly, now that we even, because I haven't even really just sat and broke this down, but really you have to consider, well, as a podcaster, I would encourage you to consider what your like life flow is. Like, how's the flow of your week? Because that will determine what works best for you. Like again, me, I have a day job, so I typically do pre-recorded interviews on Saturday because that's when I can really lock in. Now, if I didn't have a day job, I would more than likely do a live daily show similar to like what you do,
Mm-hmm.
because the beauty of the live is one, the people that are like tapped in and tuned in at that specific time, they get the beauty of seeing it first. And then two, on the back end, you got the video content that you can then repackage, repurpose to, amplify what you do. So yeah, that's how I would do that. Look at what your life flow is, and based off that, then you can determine what's best. But if you can do video, I would encourage you to do video, but more important than anything, get started.
Yeah, I think that's key to just getting started, right? I think shouldn't overthink it. I think you should just get going. And like you said, you can always decide, hey, after you get it rolling a couple episodes, whatever the case may be, hey, I like audio versus I like the video.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, in 2022, you definitely want to make sure you have some aspect of video associated with your podcast. You know what I'm saying? Um, also finding like it may be helpful for you to have two options. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because like for me, I have the Honor Pursuit podcast, which started as in person, virtual, and audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm reserving that for just in person.
Mm.
Then I got Imperfect Actions, which are pretty much all virtual. So anyone I want to reach out that's outside the state, outside the
Mm-hmm.
country, I can just have them bring it on here. But then when I want to sit down and have real conversations, really get to the nitty gritty with somebody's story, whatever the case may be, we just do the Honor Pursuit. So you can have different shows for different reasons, right? So that's a good one right there. Looks like we got a question. This one's coming from Ty. What resources would you recommend to make your podcast better, to improve your podcast?
Hmm. I would encourage you, one, if you I would say if you aren't, or if you don't feel that you have the time to do the research on your own, like go on YouTube or Google and just search different aspects of how you can make the podcast better, then I would honestly encourage you to get with like a coach or a mentor,
Mm.
or reach out to somebody with a podcast and get their insight. Because when you tap into someone else's knowledge and experience, you really get to shortcut the journey, or like the basically that you get to shortcut the journey. Now, if we're talking specifics, right? Like if you ask me that question, then I'm going to tell you, well, first I'm going to examine what you're doing. So whether you're audio only, you go on video, whether you're going live. And then from there, I'll be able to give you more specific information to help your situation. Because again, I can tell you, hey, you can use Otter to transcribe your podcast. Hey, you can use StreamYard to go live on all these places. Hey, make sure you automate your posts on, a social media platform, whether that's Hootsuite, or even the Facebook Business Manager. Well, I guess they call it Meta now, but the Meta Business Manager, where you can schedule and automate the stuff. But again, the information will be more impactful if it's tailored to your specific situation. So that's why I say, if you ask me, I'm gonna look at what you're doing already, and then I could give you a more targeted answer.
So what we'll do for Ty, so I'm gonna just drop right here in the chat. Reach out to Henry directly on DM if you have any specific questions about that. He'll be able to give you a little bit more insight. So definitely do that. So let's talk about leveraging, man. Because I
Yes.
think I think leveraging the podcast is one of the most craziest things, man. So how can one, or what well, first of all, how can one leverage? And then
Mm.
what are some of the greatest opportunities you had to leverage your podcast so far?
So first off, when you have a podcast, what you really have is a platform. When you have a platform, you now become instantly valuable to really everybody, right? And it's funny. I read this story about Arsenio Hall, and because we all know he had the Arsenio Hall show, he ended up going on Donald Trump's Celebrity Apprentice, and they had to raise money for an event. Arsenio went through his Rolodex, but the people wasn't hitting him back like they used to when he had his show. Why was that? Because he had a platform. When you have a platform, people are more willing to really just tap in with you, because you now have something that they can leverage. Because again, all the world runs off of value exchanges. What can I do to help add value to what you do? How can I add value to what you do, etc. So when you have a podcast, you have that platform that now you can offer to others, so that they can get more value out of that, and you get value too. Because one, you get to build a relationship, and I'll say, because as a social media strategist, I help experts and entrepreneurs grow online. Literally, what allows me to connect with so many people is the fact that I have the podcast. Like, I'm able to reach out to people, and it makes sense, right? Because that's the thing. You gotta be valuable for both people. Now, what ways I've leveraged my podcast is one, I've generated leads for my business, right? Because again, of course there's valuable information given, but I market my products and services on my podcast. Two, so it's funny because some of the people I actually interviewed became business partners, and like I ended up doing either business for them or with them. So that's number two. And then number three, like the network, man, my network has exploded for real, for real. And it got me to connect with people like you. Cause prime example, I had my podcast and I interviewed Charles. Shout out to Todd Capital. Interviewed Charles, and then of course I'm in the mastermind too. So it's like with me interviewing him and then being in the mastermind, that has helped me now get a whole audience base and get connected with people that I didn't even know, like you. Like I would have never met you. I don't think, or at least I wouldn't have met you when I met you if I didn't have the podcast and I went in the mastermind, because it's like a chain of events. But I'll say, as an expert, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you can leverage podcasts to generate leads and increase sales. Because again, it's just you're bringing people into your ecosystem, and the more they engage and interact, the more you become top of mind. And that's the real name of the game. Like, attention is what it's really about.
So what's up, y'all? This is the Imperfect Action Show. Today's episode, we are talking with Henry Amazing. We are talking about the power of podcasting. So let me just get a quick little recap of some of the things that we touched on. So number one, Henry's talking about creating a platform to highlight other people's stories is what you can get from a podcast, right? That gives you that ability to do that. The power of podcasting, right? That gives you the ability to become top of mind. People are able to consume more of you as opposed to short clips on Instagram and TikTok and social media platforms like that. Also, you're able to connect with your audience on a deeper level with the power of podcasting, which I thought was crazy that you said, which is why I have to repeat this. You're talking about how the world runs on value exchanges. I
Mm-hmm.
think when you really think about that, you can kind of approach this situations differently. Like even strangers, like people that you never even met. You know, what value can I offer this person before I even introduce myself that for the most part would be a greater value exchange and then you're trying to do with the relationship, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
leading with that, knowing that that's really the undertone, right? So I think that's huge. Um, breaking down how podcasting is really a platform. It's not just podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gives you so many leverage opportunities like current and future business partners, promoting your own products and services as well as other people's products and services where you can get paid off of. Generate a network that can expound, right? And now your
Mm-hmm.
network's not just local, it's
Exactly.
national, regional, worldwide, and then how you're able to generate leads and increase sales pretty much on autopilot with your podcast.
Man, facts. Facts, facts, facts. And it's funny, right? Because imagine this. Imagine if somebody came up to you and was like, hey, Brendan, I see you crushing. I see you doing your thing. I see the Imperfect Action Show. Can I pick your brain? That don't sound appealing. Like, even if they was like, man, I'll take you out to lunch. The time, it's the time that's valuable to you. So, but if a person came to you and was like, hey, Brandon, I see what you're doing. You crushing it. I absolutely love what you got going on. I would love the opportunity to interview you on my podcast. That's a way better situation, because for you,
100%. And right now I'm in a podcast zone, so I'd be like, "Yep, let's go."
yeah,
You
exactly.
know what I'm
And
saying?
now those
Yeah.
questions that you were gonna pick his brain with, you can literally ask the same questions on the podcast. Of course, make sure it flows, make sure it aligns, because again, it'll be weird, if you talk about, hey, what'd you do starting out, and then you go straight to, okay, how I make $1,000 in a second, right? Like that don't flow at all. But that's again, and it's funny because I've even done that. The people that I wanted to get like some really insight into like how they run their business, I asked them if they'd be on the podcast. They came on and literally they will break down their entire model. And
Yeah,
it's like, bruh, it
it's a
wouldn't it
cheat
wouldn't have
code,
happened
bro.
without the podcast.
It's definitely a cheat code. I had the opportunity to sit with an 8-figure earner inside of his house in his living room with his daughters and his kids around. That would not have happened if I'd had a podcast.
Exactly.
There's no way he would have let me in his crib chilling if I didn't have the podcast, right? And this is something I tell you guys all the time. Like start a podcast, generate that leverage, use that leverage to develop relationships, to build your network. You know what I mean? Like now I got an 8-figure connect anytime I'm in a particular area, or I could just hit them up and say, hey, this is what we're going on. You know what I mean? You're unable to do that without creating leverage.
Facts. Facts, facts, facts. Man, facts.
So what else can you say? We got a couple more minutes to go, and I want you guys to make sure that you follow Henry at Henry Amazing on Instagram. What other gems would you say are? Oh, actually, you know what? Why don't we do this real quick? We've been talking about all the great things about podcasts. What are some of the things on the other side that people have to look? You know, that just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah. So I say one thing that you may, or one of the things that come with podcasting is the work you do on the back end, especially if you do it solo, right? And you don't outsource anything to anybody else. It can be a lot of work. But honestly, I think the best way to overcome that is by developing a system and a schedule. So okay, this day I edit, this day I record, this day I'll set up my automations for social media, just so that you're able to manage. And then of course over time you can start bringing on people and have a team, because that's where I'm about to start pivoting to, is bringing on a team, just so I can start cranking these out on a more consistent level, because I want to be like every single day. That's end goal. Like every single day I want to drop an episode. But that's the main thing. I'll say too, if you are a person and in your environment, people haven't seen you as a podcaster or as somebody that's constantly bringing value, be just know that they may start to feel away, because your action will highlight the insecurity that they have within them, because they haven't taken action on stuff they've been wanting to do for years. So that's a big thing, for real, for real. Like as you start to grow and elevate, the people who they only know the old version of you. They don't know this person that you're becoming. They may start to like try to tear you down, or they may start saying little sly comments, but ignore that, because you great, and that's just the price of greatness. For real, for real. People are gonna always feel away. And then the last thing I would tell you to do is just execute and just keep going. Execute and keep going, because you never know. Joe Rogan is a perfect example. The man been podcasting forever. Now he's one of the largest podcasters in the world. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I guess what I can add on top of what Henry was saying is there's so many different ways you can do it, whether you actually want to have heavy, bulky equipment, or if you just want to run off your phone, or if you want to do, a hybrid of both. I think one of the most important things you want to think about is making sure that your audio is crispy. I think that's probably the most important thing, whether you do the audio experience or video experience. You want your audio to be crispy. So if you can't afford anything else, I would definitely get some really good quality mics. I started my podcasting journey literally from my camera. I had a camera tripod, and I sat in front of it with a guest. And then eventually I moved over to actually buying a podcasting equipment with the mics and all of that and the cameras. And then I actually went out and did that. I had a lot of stuff with me, a lot of bags. I don't recommend that, right? Then I moved on to, because I like the cameras. I like having two cameras. I just like that feel. But I just downsized the mics, right? So now I just use the Bluetooth mics. So now I don't have to have the big bulky mics. Don't need the headphones, nothing like that. But you still need tripods. So I was able to find like a mobile set, and I got lights. But I was able to find some mobile lights and things like that, because you want to make sure that you're well lit no matter where you are. And for me, my in-person podcast, I like doing it in different places because it gives you a more rich feeling. So every episode is like, oh, it's this background, whatever the case may be. But if you're shooting in the same place, that's cool too. You know what I mean? So I guess all of that to say, and shout out to Freddie, because Freddie got a podcast too. I just seen him jumped on. All that to say, there's so many different ways that you can do it. think the most important thing is that you just do it.
Facts. 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 Facts.
So
Man.
yeah, bro. I want to thank you for tapping on. We're just about that time. You dropped a lot of gems for the people on the power of podcasting. This is definitely an episode that if you missed anything, you definitely want to go back and catch all the gems with the replay. Make sure you guys are tapping in with my guy Henry Amazing on Instagram. If you have any questions about podcasting at all, if you maybe you have a podcast and it's just not really moving how you want, or maybe you're thinking it's a little harder than it should be, hit Henry in a DM. He can help you out, get you right, and get you straight, bro. So before we tap off, please let the guys know where they can find you, what you currently have going on, and all the different ways that they can tap in.
So once again, everybody, I am Henry Amazing. I'm a social media strategist and a podcaster. Now, for your audience, I want to do something insane that literally just came to me right now. So in the month of May, I'm doing a 5-day podcast challenge. For your listeners, I want to give them half off of the general and the VIP. Use the code Imperfect Action. And of
Crazy.
course, Brandon, you know I'm going to take care of you, man. So
Crazy.
and the website is going to be theamazingchallenge.com, AMAZIN, amazing, no G. And again, if you use the code Imperfect Action, no space, then you'll get 50% off the general and the VIP.
So when is it? When's the domain gonna be up? Is it
It's
up right
gonna
now?
be ready by tomorrow. So
I
it's
bet.
gonna be ready by the morning.
So as soon as you give it to me, I will update the caption below, and then they can just click it below and just go right there.
Yep, that'll work.
Yep. Word. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for the time.
Thank
Henry
you.
literally took imperfect action. As you see, he's outside.
For real.
You know what I'm
I'm outside the job.
So this
For
is
real.
something that I definitely want to continue to stress and just encourage you guys to take that imperfect action in your situation and just move, just get it done. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow, episode 45. That means we are approaching episode 50. Woo! I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Yeah.